I'm harvesting parsley. At the same time, I'm taking some of them out that, one, are not good, and then also because we garden in a Jewish way, following the laws of the Torah. Some of it I have to set aside. When the temple was in existence, a tenth of every harvest would be given to the priests in the temple, since they didn't work. And the people would feed them with the tenth of the food that they harvested. And we still keep the custom up so that we won't forget. Here there's some things that are not edible, but most of this is parsley that I planted over a period of weeks, and I'm going to be planting on Sunday in the bald spots. This is barely enough for our family. Even though we have a large family, we're only 2 or 3 people at home most of the time now. And even so, it's barely enough for us, because we eat from it every day.
When my neighbors were building about 6 or 7 big raised beds, the nice large one you see over there. And I enjoyed it so much, I after several months, I asked them to come back and build me some more. And then I liked it so much, I started improvising, and wherever I could find wood or stones, I would add more beds. And about a month ago, I was walking around the yeshuv, and somebody had thrown out this wall unit. I said, gee, this would make a great raised bed. So I schlepped it back here, and then we're going to be planting potatoes in here. You could see here on the ground how we've covered all the grass with wood chips. And this is designed, this way we could suppress the growth of weeds. So these are the branches on the fig tree. Now another source, on every street you'll see big piles of branches. So what I did was, you can see all these bags here. I took the large branches and I cut off small branches. So this will all be going through. We have a wood chipper. We put a wood chipper specifically for this purpose. And what I like about the whole idea is that it's a closed loop. That we keep, even though the wood falls, everything, in other words, the branch fell down and now it's going back into the soil, so to speak, to nourish the soil again.
Oh, wow. So exciting. Wow. Can you see these little things here? These little red, tiny, miniature, tiny leaves and buds? This is our first tree, our pomegranate tree, one of the 7 species of Israel. And it's traditional to eat from the pomegranate tree on the Jewish New Year. One of my favorite lettuces. I have about 10 favorite lettuces. Not to worry. This is a curly red lettuce. The color is gorgeous. The taste is yummy. It gets really nice and crisp. I love this. Israel has so many special aspects. For those of us who keep a Torah lifestyle, who live according to Jewish ideals, there are many things that you only do in Israel, certain blessings that you say only on something that's produced in Israel. If the same food was grown in land that's not Israel, you don't say those special blessings. So that already gives this very special dimension to the gardening. And also, even though today's modern world, most people are not working the land, that was actually our blessing, that we would be able to come to land and we would be able to work it. And the original Israelis were people who lived off the land and worked the land. And so I feel like I'm reenacting something, a tradition from way back.
This is a gardening technique I learned on YouTube. We're going to plant it with the eyes facing upward. It goes down underground about 6 inches deep, and each one is about 1 foot apart. And so I'm going to be digging through here. Just cover it now. And hopefully in about 90 days or so, we're going to see some nice green shoots coming up. And when the leaves turn yellow and the plant starts to die back, that's when you know it's time, it's ready to harvest. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol, ben or choshech, ben Yisrael amim, ben yom hashvi l'sheshet yimei hamaseh, Baruch atah Adonai, hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol.
Amen.
I'll start. You want to start?
We were sitting here in the living room in our 6th home in Israel. We've moved around a bit. And we just celebrated our 42nd wedding anniversary. And just before that, we celebrated being in Israel as a family for 40-something years. I was born in the United States. My parents were born in the United States. My grandparents came from other countries in Europe. And I don't think growing up anybody realized that I would end up living here in Israel.
I grew up in Queens, New York, about 15 minutes away from Rachael's house, mother's house. And my first major visit to Israel was in 1973. The Yom Kippur War had just broken out. And a message went out, Israel desperately needed volunteers. Volunteers not to fight in the army, but harvest the fruit. So I spoke with my parents and I decided I would come. And I came to Israel. And I spent a year in Kibbutz Givat Chaim Yichud, and it was a very powerful experience for me, very meaningful, and I developed an attraction to the land.
We're in the business of growing people. We have 7 children, and at the moment we have 8 grandchildren. And our business in the garden is also about growing people in a different way, and it's also growing ourselves. And final words.
I think the key to good health and to balance is simplicity. And simplicity begins with diet. And in fact, one of the reasons that we got engaged so quickly was because we both wanted to make aliyah. We were both vegetarians. And since also our
to do with you and me.
I'll tell you, our food journey has also evolved and grown through the years. We went from being vegetarian to eventually giving up eggs and dairy and to becoming vegan.
Indeed.
But our diet is comprised of fruits, vegetables, grains,
seeds,
nuts, legumes, beans, and
herbs,
and lentils and herbs.
Spices.
Right. So, and that's basically our diet, and we feel that's the best medicine. That and exercise, keeping moving. So. Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi. Bimhera v'yameinu yavo